Hello, good morning, guys. It's another great day, and I hope everybody has rested fully and refreshed and ready for a new day. Now, we have a new topic. We are now in lesson 4, solving multi-step equations. In the previous lesson, we had lesson 3. We discussed everything about solving basic equations. That's a single step equations. Now we'll be dealing with a little more complex kinds of equations. In this lesson, we'll be covering multi-step equations. Involves fractions in the coefficient and with some variables and constants on the left side, the same way as on the right side of the equation. And we'll be using some of those properties of numbers, like distributive property of numbers, that way in a separate video. If you watch that video, you may go back there and review if you would like to, but I will be showing it to you again today. And then we'll be dealing with equations without a variable in the answer, called an empty set. That's a case 1, and case 2 will be the solution is infinite. We called identity. That means any real number can be the answer. So before we move on to our lesson, I would like to introduce myself to you guys. My name is Ming. I have a background and a degree in civil engineering and passed the board exam in 1990 in the Philippines. And I got interested in numbers and mathematics and all that. And I found myself enjoying the teaching algebra lessons on YouTube. Now let's go back to our lesson. So multi-step equations utilize more than one steps in simplifying the equations involving any of the mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. That means in one equation you will be doing multiple steps in simplifying the equations involving those mathematical operations. Now we have the first example right here. Number 1 is 3x minus 2 equals 19. And now if you can see, we have the variable and the constant on the left side. So the first step we do is separate the constant, move it to the right, and the next thing we do is we remove the coefficient of the variable. So that's 2 steps. So let's do it. The rule in eliminating the constant on the left, whatever is the mathematical operation involved right here, that's subtraction. The inverse of, to undo this or to solve that and move this constant to the right, is we use the inverse of this operation. What's the inverse of negative? It's positive and 2. So the inverse of that is 3x minus 2. So we add plus 2, the inverse of negative 2. And on the right side, 19, we get plus 2 the same way. So that's the rule. Whatever you do on the left side of the equation, you do it to the right side of the equation same way. So simplifying it, so this cancels, and now we're left out with 3x, and 19 plus 2 is 21. So what we do now, this is the second step now. First step was eliminating that constant on the left, and now step 2 is eliminating the coefficient, so we can isolate the variable and solve the value of it. So how to eliminate the variable is the coefficient of 3 is the same as 3 over 1. So the inverse of 3 over 1 is 1 over 3, right? So 1 over 3, that's the inverse. That's the inverse. That's the inverse of 3, or 3 over 1. So we use that to solve the equation. 3x equals to 21 right there. Now we use the inverse of 3, or 3 over 1, the inverse of 3 over 1 is 1/3. Now what we do on the left, you should do it on the right, same way. So times 1/3. So it's clear enough, right? So what we have now, we have here, cancel that out. What we have left, x times 1 is x, and 21 comes out, that is equal to 21 over 3. What is 21 over 3? That's 7. Equal to 7, that's the answer. Now we're on the second example of involving fractions as coefficient. We have a problem here, equation over here, 3 is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 5. Now if you notice, we have a fractional coefficient right here, a negative fractional coefficient, and the variable is on the right side, and we have a constant on the left, we have a constant on the right. So first, because since we're talking about multi-step equations, it involves more than 2 processes to simplify the equation. So first we have to isolate the variable by itself, whether left or the right. So let's say this, since 5 is here on the right side, we eliminate that first. So that's the first step. And the second step is eliminate this negative fractional coefficient of x. So to finally get the value of the variable x. So first step is eliminate that 5 right there. What are we going to do is do the inverse. Of, so eliminate the value of 5 plus 5, you get the inverse is negative 5. You do negative 5, the same thing, you do negative 5 on the left side. So it won't affect the balance of the equation. So let's do it. So bring down 3 minus 5. Let's do that as, so bring down 3 minus 5 equals, right there, equals negative 2/3 x plus 5, and then the same thing, minus 5. So minus 5 over here. Oh, we're missing the number 5 right there. Bring down 5. Alright, what we have now is, if you notice, this one right here, okay, equation, 3 minus 5 is negative 2, and minus 2/3 x. 5 minus 5, that's 0. So we have now arrived at this situation. Now next thing to do, the second step, is remove this negative coefficient. So how are we going to remove the negative coefficient? We're talking about the coefficient right here. Now we're going to use the term inverse. So we multiply the inverse of 2/3. The inverse of 2/3, the inverse is move this one, move that one right there. Numerator becomes denominator, becomes the numerator. That's the inverse. That's the inverse. The inverse is 3/2. That's the inverse of that. Alright, so that's another example is 4/5. The inverse of that is 5/4. So that's what it means by inverse. Okay, now so let's go back there to our solution. Bring down negative 2 times, what's the inverse? 2/3 is 3/2. 3/2. Since we have negative value right there, if you remember the rules in multiplying sign numbers, both negatives will become positive, right? So we're gonna have that negative right here, both negative, it will become positive. So we should put negative right there. The same thing over here now. So minus, so what we do on the left, you do it on the right. So negative 2/3 x multiplied by the inverse 3/2. And now to make this the variable positive, so we get negative right there. So negative 3/2, negative 3/2 left side, right, the same right side. So now simplifying, this one cancels. So it's negative times negative is positive. So that's 3. That's 3, right? So multiplying sign numbers, the rules, 2 negatives become positive. And now the same thing over here, what we have right here now. Cancel 2, cancel 3, right? Negative times negative, it'll become positive. So what we have here left now. And now we found the value of x. X is equal to 3. And that's the same you're reading as other way around. X is equals to 3. So that's the answer. Now we move on to our lesson. So now we're on the part we're dealing with equations now with variables and constants on both sides of the equation. So we go on. So that's, we have example 3 over here. Now we have that example number 3. That's 2x minus 3 equals negative 5x plus 18. Now multi-step equations again, the same way. So first way to do it is, first step is, if you notice, we got both sides, we got variables, we got constants on the same side too. So isolate the variable, we can do it on the left or on the right, either way. Now, first step is isolate the variables, right? So we have a constant over here. So constant over there. So our aim now is move this variable to the left side. So we have to eliminate the constant over here first. And then what's next? It will be combining this, putting this one, combining it to the right, to the left. So that's the second step. The first step, that's the first step. And then this is the second step. All right, going to that one right there. All right, let's do it. So first step, eliminating that negative 3. We're doing the inverse again. The inverse of negative 3 is positive 3. So 2x minus 3 plus 3, right, equals negative 5x plus 18 plus 3. All right, if you notice that, now we cancel that now. 3 minus 3, 0. And now we go on, move. So we write our solution over here. Just 2x equals minus 5x. 18 plus 3 is how much? That's 21. Now, second step, we have to move this to the left, right? So what we're going to do that is do the inverse again to eliminate that. The inverse of negative 5, you get positive 5x. So let's go ahead. So bring down 2x. And then bring down 21 right there. Either way. So bring down negative 5x. Now the inverse, we're doing the inverse of this, negative 5x. So plus 5x over here. Do on the left, you do on the right. So that's 5x over here, plus 5x, or either way, write it down. 2x, and you got a 5x also here. That's what we do on the right. Do it on the left. So that's 5x. All right. We have 2x plus 5x is 7x equals. Now you see this one right here cancels out, right? Cancel that. Now what you have left? So 21. So we got the answer right there. 2x plus 5x is 7x. And then we cancel that. minus 5x plus 5x, and what we have left is 21. Now you answer that. How do you answer that one right there? The next step is we divide this, the inverse of 7, right? So to get rid of that 7, so 7x is equals 21. And we have to multiply the inverse of that to get rid of that coefficient, right? What's the inverse of 7? So we multiply that 1 over 7. The same thing on the right, 1 over 7. And now what we have left. So we solve the equation now, right? Because 7 divided by 7 is 1. So what we have left right here is x is equals to 21 divided by 7. It's written the same way as 21 divided by 7. What's that? It's 3, right? So that's the answer. Now we move on to our lesson. Next one is we'll be using distributive property of multiplication over addition. Okay, if you remember, I have a separate video discussion about the properties of numbers. If you have not seen that video yet, you may go back there and review that video on properties of numbers. But anyway, since we're using it right now, I'll be showing to you how that works anyway. So let's do this. Get you an example. Now we have that example number 4. 2 times the parenthesis 2/3 x plus 3 close parenthesis equals 4x plus 10. Now, distributive property. Talking about distributive property, what does it mean by that again? If you have not seen my other video about property of numbers, the distributive property of multiplication over addition, it says that since the symbol parenthesis indicates multiplication operation, so this coefficient 2 right here multiplied to that, to the first term, and 2 multiplied to the second term. So what they call this again? 2 terms is binomial. A monomial multiplying to a binomial. So let's do that first. So okay, so PEMDAS again. So we do employ parentheses first. So solve what's in there. And okay, let's do that. So 2 times 2/3 x plus, since that's plus is plus, 2 times 3, that's 6, equals 4x plus 10. What are we going to do next? We simplify, right? Or let's just keep going on that one right there. Now our aim again, since we have constant on the left, our aim is isolate the variable x. So we have to isolate, we have to remove this constant over here, x, and next one is we'll be removing the coefficient of x so we can find the value of x. But if you can take a look, there's another x right here. So we combine that x, put it to the right. So that's why it's called multi-step equation. All right, first we remove the constant on the left side. So as we go along, just simplify this one right here. 2 times 2/3, it's 4/3. 4/3 x plus 6. We do here, so minus 6 to eliminate that 6 right there, right, is equal to 4x plus 10. The same thing, minus x over here, minus 6. So that cancels out. Then we have left now 4/3 x is equal to 4x. 10 minus 6 is 4. And next we have to move this to the left. We have x right there, right? How are we going to do that? So it's the inverse again. Plus 4x, you should subtract it, minus x, minus 4x, right? So that should be minus 4x over here. See, minus 4x on this side though. All right, so going forward, Let's go ahead. So to the left, the same way to the right. So 4x, 4/3 x minus 4x. That's 4x. That one right there, minus 4x, equals 4x plus 4 minus 4x minus 4x. Alright, so if you this 4x, 4x. Alright, so what we have now equals to 4/3 x minus 4x equals 4x, and minus 4x times 4x is cancelled out, that's 0. And what you have left, 4. Now we have 4/3 x plus, 4/3 x minus 4x is equals 4. Now how are we going to simplify that further? Now if you notice, we have a fractional coefficient of x over here, 4/3. How are we going to eliminate that fractional coefficient? So the best way for me to do that is eliminate that one right there. So get rid of the fractional part. What are we going to do? So multiply by this by 3. The same thing, multiply this by 3. What you do on the left, you do on the right, right? And since that is a distributive property again, multiplication. So multiply this to that, and then multiply this to the second term. Multiply first term, multiply the second term, the coefficient, right? And let's move on. Let's go ahead. So that's it. So 3 times 4/3 x times, since this is minus right there, it's just minus 3 times 4x. 3 times 4x is equal to 4 times 3. What's that? 12. All right. So moving along, this one right here, that's the one right there. Okay, so cancel 3, that's 4x minus 12x equals 12. We have so far 4x minus 12x equals 12. And now 4x minus 12x, what is that? So that's negative 8x is equals to 12. Now how are we going to eliminate that negative 8 coefficient again of the variable x? We have to multiply it by the inverse of 8. What is the inverse of 8? Is 1/8. 1 over 8, right? So minus 8x times the inverse equals 12 times the inverse of 8. What's the inverse of 8? Okay, the inverse of 8 is 1 over 8, right? Same thing, you do on the right, 1/8. So that if you do that, it will still be negative. So what are we going to do? Sign numbers again. Multiplication of sign numbers, both negative becomes positive, right? So negative 1/8. That's negative 1/8 there. This sign right here is negative also. Negative 1/8. So cancel out. What do we come up? It's x, because negative times negative is positive. And now we have 12 divided by 8. That's negative 12 divided by 8. So what's the answer of that x right there? If you divide to the answer, 12 divided by 8. So 1 is 8, it's 4. Is that 4 or 6? It's 4. So what's the answer? So that's the same as is equal to 1 and 4 over 8. 4 over 8. 1 and 4 over 8. Let's put the value of x. But then now the answer here, looking at a mix, we call that mixed fraction. That involves whole number and a fractional part. That's a mixed number. And now if you can see, are you going to simplify this further? Make it to the lowest term? Can you do that? Can you? Yeah, absolutely, right? Because 4 over 8 is 1/2 of that one right there. So the final answer should be x, and 1 and 4 divided by 8 is 4 and 8. What are the factors of 4? 2 by 2, right? And 8 is 4 times 2. That means 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2, 4 times 2, 8. You can cancel that 2 right there. What remaining? What's the answer? Is 1/2, right? So 4 divided by 8 is 1/2. So that's the final answer. 1.5. Yeah. So that's the final answer. X is equal to 1.5. Now let's move on to the next part of our lesson. It's called equation without the variable in the answer. What does it mean by that? I will show you an example. Now we call equations without variables in the answer. How come? What does it mean by that? Alright, I'll give you an example. Okay, we have that one. Example is 2/3 x minus 10 is equal to 2 times the quantity 1/3 x plus 5 close parenthesis. That would be an equation without the variable in the answer. So what does it mean by that? So it will be called an empty set. It's variable, no value of the variable. So what does it mean by no value? That means the equation has no solution. What does it mean by no solution? Or we call that an empty set. Alright, so let's do it. So that's the first case. That's the first case, or case number 1. Case number 1. Okay, so first we solve the equation. So I'll show you what does it mean by that. No solution to the answer. Okay, first we simplify. Now, as usual, we remove the constant on the left side, isolate the x. The first step, the second step is remove this coefficient, right? So get rid of that. The minus 10, we have to add plus 10 over here. The inverse of negative 10 is plus 10, so we got plus 10 over here also. Left side, right side, same way. Okay, that's how we're going to do. So 2/3 x, 2/3 x minus 10 and plus 10. Alright, equals to, since we are here now, we're dealing with the distributive property of a multiplication over addition again, right? Like earlier we mentioned about. Let's multiply this first, this numerical value to the first term, the same thing on the other term, second term. So as we go on, we just simplify it right now. So 2 times x over 3, carry over the plus sign. 2 times 5 is 10, and now we have that plus 10 right there. Since you added 10 on the left side, you do it on the right the same way. So plus 10. So over here, cancel this here, this side. Okay. So simplify. So that's what we have left over here. Just 2/3 x and 2/3 x. 10 plus 10 is 20. Now, next thing to do, right? How are you going to, since you got 2/3 x right here and 2/3 x over here, if you move it to the right, it will be the same, you cancel out. The simplest way to do that is cancel that one. 2/3 minus x. And there's another 2/3 x over here on the right side. How could I prove that it cancels? Well, I'll show you. So to eliminate the variable on the right side, you have to do the inverse of this, right? Or since this addition, you have to subtraction. So to get rid of that, so you have to subtract this side, right side equation, subtract by 2/3 x, right? If you subtract 2/3 x right there, you do subtract 2/3 x on this left side too, right? Okay, so let's do it. 2/3 x minus 2/3 x equals, since you got that right there, 2/3 x, bring down 20. Now you're subtracting 2/3 x. Okay, notice that this one and this one, right? 2/3 x minus 2/3 x, that's 0. What do you have right here? 2/3 x minus 2/3 x again, that's 0, right? What you have left? So this is 0. How about on the right side? We left out with just 20. 20. That's the answer. How did we get that one? Cancel that out, 0. 2/3 x minus 2/3 x is 0. I mean 2/3 x, cancel that out. What we have left is 20. So that's the answer. And how are we going to signify, or how are we going to identify our answer? What's the symbol for that empty set? Empty set is, the answer is the empty set, like this. It's empty set signifies empty set. Alright, what does it mean by empty set again? The variable has no value in the equation. Okay, the variable has no value to make it true, since there's no way 0 is equals to 20. So, alright, that means there's no solution. No solution. Alright, so signify our answer with that symbol, empty set. Yep. Now we are on the case 2. Well, equations without variables in the answer. Alright, give you an example. So that's the next example in case 2. We're talking about case 2. Equations without variables in the answer. So 2x minus 3 equals 2 times the parenthesis x minus 1 minus 1. Well, the same way we have to simplify the equation. And then if we find this one, distributive property multiplication over addition, again, we do simplify that one right there. And same time, we remove this constant on that one right there. Alright? So inverse minus 3, so you get plus 3. You get the same side, now it has a plus 3 right there. So 2x minus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 2 times x is 2x minus 2 minus 2 times 1 is 2 minus 1. Okay, and now you have that plus 3 right there. Since you added 3 over there, you get plus 3 over here. Alright, okay, so cancels out. What do you have left? 2x. What do you have right here? 2x. What do you have right here? Minus 2 minus 1 is minus 3. Plus 3, that's 0. Cancel out, 0. Right, so 2x. Is that correct? Okay, so This is plus 0 also. Minus 3 plus 3, 0. What do you see in that equation right there? It's a weird looking equation, right? And now we have variable here, the same thing. Variable the same way on that side. What does it mean by that? If you remove that, or you combine, there's no way you can combine. All you have to do is cancel out and make 0. Cancel that becomes 0. How did I arrive to that answer? I'll show you. So we have 2x here. The inverse of 2x is minus 2x. And then if you do minus 2x on this, you do minus 2x on the right side, minus 2x. What would become of the answer? So that's, we have 2x plus 0, 0. So it's a minus 2x. Alright? Equals, bring down that 2x. And you subtracted 2x right there. That's 2x over here also. So what will become of that one right there? Right? 2x minus x is 0. 2x minus 2x, 0. So the answer, what would be the answer? 0 equals 0. Right? So what does it mean by our answer 0 equals 0? So this kind of equation is identity. That means any number is the solution. You can put any number right there, is the solution. What does it mean by any number? Any number is a real number. What does it mean by a real number? That means you can have positive, negative, 0, or any number. It's infinite. That means limitless. That means any number can be the solution to that one. But the equation is showing up as this, it's still an equation because 0 is equal to 0. It's kind of weird, but that's how it looks like. But in any case, you encounter this kind of equation, the answer is 0 is equal to 0. That's another equation without variable in the solution, in the answer. So we notate this kind of answer as R, as real number. Since any number can be the solution, see, we put R as letter R for real number. It stands for real numbers. That's the solution to that case 2. Equations without variables in the answer. So that concludes our topic lesson for the lesson 4, solving multi-step equations that involving a lot, right? So our next lesson will be lesson 5, solving equations by using formulas. So before I let you guys go, anyway, if you like this video, you may hit the subscribe button on the below, so you don't miss out any incoming videos. Those of the time I upload videos also solving algebra problems. Okay, so thank you for your time in following my video again, and you guys have a great day.